We are back. Now, I'll tell you what, the Louisville Truck Show was something else, wasn't it? I mean, it was huge. It was sold out. It was big, and there was so many truckers there and trucking. Actually, you know what? There was hardly any trucking companies. You know what I mean? Like the recruiting area?
Yeah, the recruiting area seemed small to me. It only had like maybe a dozen, it seemed, maybe a little bit more, but it just really didn't have as many companies as I expected. Yet they had their normal.
Yeah, I mean, I agree 100%. It seems that there's I don't know, was it less than 3%? Was that me or you that dinged?
I think that was me.
Okay, I think we counted like less than 3% of the actual vendors. So go ahead, talk a little bit before I get to jump up.
What I was thinking is saying how wonderful of a time I had at the booth. I literally have 3 pages of shout outs that people would like me to do. And I can tell you, I'm only going to be able to do so many at a time. And there's just, I will not do that many at one shot. So keep listening over the next couple of weeks. See if you hear your name. Like I said, I had so many people writing down their names, some of the company names, a lot of just.
Well, just give us like 5 at a time. And, we'll go from there.
Yeah.
So these are our truckers and trucking company, or not trucking companies, but like parts companies and everything trucking that said, "Hey, mention us on your podcast."
Some of them were little small owners, like maybe a guy that might have had like a couple of trucks. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. And so, who do you got? Who's the first 5?
The first 5 I have is Pale Rider TV.
Pale Rider TV. What's that? What is that?
He is he's a older gentleman that does like YouTube stuff, and he just goes out there and he does videos going around.
I remember talking to him now.
Yeah. So Pale Rider TV. Thanks for stopping by.
Pale Rider. That's a good CB handle. I'm sure that's a CB handle too. You got the Pale Rider.
Mm-hmm. And then I have Michael from Link Trucking. That's the guy that you did that did the cab over.
Oh, cool. So
Mike
that was Slusher?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Slushers, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were from Michigan, and that cab, we haven't put that up there yet. But Mike, the dad, he told me, he said, Troy, I've been listening to you guys since you started. He said, even back when you guys were on Blog Talk and the audio sucked, he said, I stayed with you guys. So shout out to Mike Sr. And his kid. I mean, they're...
Mike Jr. is like a 3rd generation. It was the grandfather, then Mike, and then Michael, the son. But he is not only a driver, but he also is a mechanic. So he's got like the best of the world when it comes to trucking for that.
Yeah, they were a good team, and that truck was beautiful. It was on the inside. We videoed it, and we'll get that put up here this week, Lord willing. Go ahead. Who else you got?
I have Angie Baum from the Married to the Trucker. Or Married to the Road, sorry.
Married to the Road.
Married to the Road. And then I have Nick at handshakefleet.com.
Handshake Fleet. What is that? Or don't you know?
Well...
I mean, people were just writing their names down, so we don't have...
He's Snorelord.
Snorelord, that's right.
Yeah, you remember him?
Snorelord.
Yeah.
That's a heck of a CB handle.
Yeah.
Snorelord.
He had this huge long beard, and he kind of had that Viking look to him, but he was pretty neat. He has his own channel too, so that's why he wrote the different stuff down.
Go ahead.
So next is I got Pam. I think it's Pam Randall, driver for Highway Transport Driver of the Year, finalist for NTTC, which is the National Tank Truck Carriers. Good luck to you, Pam. From Andy Wood at Allsups and Yesway, sorry.
Awesome. So that's our first 5 mentions here on the show. Tune in each week. We'll be throwing up some names of people we ran into, but we've got a lot of content here. The one thing I would say, we had so many people that came there to say hi. And I was surprised at how many people said, wow, you guys inspired me to start my own podcast. And I was like, wow, I was overwhelmed with the amount of people saying they started a podcast. So I would tell anybody again, I think we mentioned it, but I would just reiterate that if you guys are starting a podcast or a YouTube channel or both, don't give up. It's a long road, but I will tell you, if you're doing it because you really love to put out information and content, stick with it, guys and gals, because you know what? Ruth Ann and I have been doing it for years, and honestly, it's really you guys that make us keep doing it. I mean, honestly, that's because after so many years, you're like, man, how much more can we talk about trucking, man? Because that's what we do. It's all trucking, you know what I mean? And you know what I was thinking? I was thinking the trucking world is its own world. We really are.
The truth.
No, all I'm saying is the trucking world gives us content every week to talk about. There's just so much in regulations and in drivers, in companies, just some the content we have today. I'm like, wow, look at all this stuff to talk about. It's crazy.
I know I have an overabundance. I'll probably have to split that up into 2 different ones because we only have so much time.
So let's go ahead and take a break, and we will be right back. Drivers, if you're looking for a local, home, everyday driving job, apply with Carter Lumber today. They have positions for Class A and Class B local drivers. They can take experienced drivers, students, and non-CDL drivers. With over 160 locations, chances are they have a position for you. So go to carterlumber.com/talkcdl and apply today. Again, that's carterlumber.com/talkcdl. Thank you. If you're a driver looking for a new trucking job, check out NCI. NCI offers the following: new Kenworth T680s, competitive wages, solo, team, and students welcome, plus a full benefit package for you and your family. Check them out today at 888-311-7076. That's 888-7076. And tell them Talk CDL sent you. All right. So, I just wanted to mention a couple things this week. I believe there was a trucker that one of the companies that we know called us and was telling us, he's like, you got to hear this one.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, because, sometimes you think you heard it all. Mm-hmm. Remember that time that company in Iowa called us and they said, hey, you're never going to believe this. We hired a trucker today, and they're a flatbed company. And in fact, the company was called SMX. I remember them and the reason I'm mentioning them because they no longer exist.
Right.
But I remember JT calling me and saying, you ain't going to believe this. We hired a trucker. He went through orientation. And then he went down to the local, he got his dispatch, his fuel card. He went down to the local truck stop, convenience store type of place, went in and armed robbed the place, and then used the truck for a getaway. But as he was pulling out, because of his excitement, his tandem's hooked onto some poor girl's Volkswagen Bug at the gas pump part, and he couldn't get it off, so he drugged that down the street, and that's how easily the cops caught him.
Can you imagine? I remember the story, but can you imagine? I mean, first of all, the girl's fear, but second, it's a bug. It's a little teeny tiny, punch buggy,
Yeah, but I mean, I guess if you're only in first or second gear, it's probably hard to get up to 70 mile an hour with a giant Volkswagen wheel chock underneath your tandems. And so he was arrested. And then you say to yourself, wow, I heard it all. Mm-hmm. Nothing can beat that.
You think?
No, well, I shouldn't say beat it, because that is a pretty crazy story. You know that, right?
I do.
But there's stories that come out every week, and you're going, for example, the company in Texas we know, they said, we had a driver this week that he taped a condom to his stomach filled with his wife's urine to try to pass the drug screen with. and the doctor, caught him with it. He thought he could fly across the country and keep his wife's urine, her pee, to body temperature. And of course, that doesn't work. It doesn't work, guys. You can't take a rubber and pee and have your wife pee in it and then think you're going to use it for a drug screen. It doesn't work. I promise you. Maybe if you got like a little electric cooker and warmed it up, I don't know. But it's got to be.
I don't think you can even this is going to sound really gross, but I don't think you can even keep it up your butt.
No, people have tried that too. They have tried to shove it up their anal and try to keep it warm that way too.
It won't work. I'm
just saying it most of it's only like a 2 or a 4 degree variable. Mm-hmm. So if it's under like 98.6 or 97 or something like that, they're not going to accept that.
Well, not only that, but can you imagine the surprise that when they do the urinalysis and something else pops up out of that?
Hey, you're pregnant.
Well, not only that, but let me tell you something. And this is just, when women have their period, blood gets in the urine. So can you just imagine, sir, I think you're menstruating.
I'm laughing at you laughing. I'm not laughing at your joke. I'm laughing at you.
That makes it funnier.
So, all right. So Ruthann has entertained herself today.
I did.
But I got another news story to tell.
Okay.
And it maybe isn't as good as the Volkswagen bug story, but apparently this company in Chicago this week. Now there is a big company in Chicago that is a flatbed company that's in a lot of trouble right now, losing drivers like crazy. And apparently this small company went ahead and got 2 of them out of their orientation, brought them over, drug screened them, gave them 2 trucks. He's going to do a lease purchase with these guys. I mean, literally got them all set up, and he dispatches the one driver under a load, goes to pick the load up, and he literally gets a notification from his dispatcher that, hey, this new driver never showed up for the load. And it's only like 60 miles away from Chicago. So this excuse me, the owner of this small company, he gets in his pickup, I guess, and takes a driver with him. He's like, I'm going to go find this guy and I'm going to, fire him. And so he finds the guy, and here the guy starts apologizing. And apparently, instead of going to pick up his load, he went and picked up a hooker.
Yeah.
I'm serious. And so I was thinking, what they were doing, obviously, what happens when you pick up a hooker. Remember what Roger Rabbit said? Patty cakes, right? Patty cakes. He was playing patty cakes, I guess, with the hooker. Anything but patty cakes. But anyways, he said he went back for more. I guess she's good at her patty cakes, Oh
my gosh.
Patty cakes.
And he's got a job. He needed a job for money. Go figure.
But patty cakes.
I know.
So anyway, the driver and the hooker were playing patty cakes twice. And obviously the load fell, and I'll tell you something right now, freight is really not in abundance where you can just not do it. So then the owner's talking to the guy, and he's like, well, plus I drank a beer and I didn't want to be in the truck. So I went ahead and I guess he just went and played patty cakes. Right. So the owner's like, so you're telling me you wouldn't answer your phone. We're calling you. You went and played patty cakes twice. And then, you drank beer too.
In my truck.
No, I guess it was supposedly not in his truck. But anyways, yeah. So anyways.
Or when you're supposed to be on a load.
Exactly.
When you're under a load.
It's like, dude, this guy supposedly was crying. He needs money. He needs to make money. And so what does he do? He gets a job away from the company. See, apparently this big giant company that's in Chicago, that's having a really bad time because of freight right now. They have like 2,000 trucks. They're a flatbed company. Everybody knows and van. They have flatbed and van. So allegedly this company's losing drivers really, really bad. So these 2 drivers were at this orientation together, and they found out that they were like, oh my gosh, the reputation of this company, we didn't check them out before we came. And so they realized that this company is crap. So they went around calling, and they found a company in Chicago, which is pretty easy to do. And so this guy he rescues them, gives them a truck to own, and this guy's a really good program where you really can make a decent dollar. He's a small company. I know the guy. He does all this for this guy and his buddy, and then the guy goes and picks up a hooker and drinks beer. It's like, I mean, what are you thinking? I mean, are people living under a rock? They don't know that. Listen, I'm going to tell you some advice for all you owner-operators and lease purchase guys. If you're going to do a lease purchase right now, you better utilize your hours. You better run your hours out, and you better make... It ain't like a year ago when you can run 2,000 miles, 2,500 miles, 2,300 miles, and put $3,000-$4,000 in your pocket at the end of the week. It is not like that. You can make money on a lease right now, but you have to run. You have to get up there and get that 2,800 mile, 3,000 miles. You need to get up there if you want to bring home like $2,000 right now.
Right.
So here's a guy that is like, dude, you're broke. A guy helped you out, and you go on a binge on your first load. So, obviously, what the owner did. He's like, you're out of here. Boom. Fired him. Guy's like begging, no, please put me on a probation. I'm sorry. And the owner's like, no way. And I don't blame the owner. Do you?
No, I don't blame the owner.
I mean, how crazy of a story is that?
If he did that on the first impressions are very important. And if you're going to do something that ridiculous under a load with your first impression, you're not showing them anything good that you could bring to the table.
So here, I'm going to close this segment with a little advice to all you drivers that are coming into the industry, drivers that have been in the industry, okay? There's a lot of truck drivers out there that didn't even graduate high school. It's just the truth, Ruthann.
It is true.
And there's some guys that went to college, but there's a lot of guys out there that didn't have a whole lot going for them until they got a Class A CDL, okay? And then when they got that Class A CDL, okay, they acted like the hot chick. Do you know what the hot chick is?
Yeah.
She's the one everybody wanted in high school, right? She's the one that acted like a real bitch because everybody wanted her.
The cheerleader.
She got real snooty with everybody because everybody wanted her. Well, so now you get a Class A CDL, and because everybody wants you, you think you're the hot chick, and then you start screwing up, okay? But I'm going to tell you something. Stop shitting on your CDL, because that is like a college degree to some guys. You know what? To me, when I was a driver, that was like a college degree to me.
Yeah.
If I was on home time and you and I went out for dinner and I had a beer, did I ever drive? I wouldn't even. I didn't even want to get pulled over with beer on my breath.
No,
because I respected that freaking CDL. So if you're out there jacking around like this crap, okay, smoking a little weed on your off time, you don't take shit off companies, all that, guys. Clean your act up. You have a good thing going here. Yes, you are the hot chick. They are, Ruthann.
But
everybody wants them.
Yeah.
But just because everybody wants you doesn't mean you should act like a shithead.
But here's the thing, and I think a lot of drivers aren't realizing this. There's even though they say that there is a shortage of drivers, it's really not. There's still an abundance of drivers. It's when you are acting, there's companies that I've talked to that when they get a call from a driver and the driver's being way like, I only went this kind of run, I went this kind of truck, I went this, I went that. They're still not gonna, if you're a hard to please driver, they're not gonna want you either, because you might be the hot chick, but there's 5 other hot chicks that are coming in with you. So you're not special right now. The freight is what's special.
You're right. And remember, we talked about this in the last podcast. At the truck show, I sat with CRST, and they said, we're not hurting for drivers. So when a company that size is not hurting for drivers, the industry is really crapping right now. So guys, I'm just telling you right now, I'm trying to help you. All right, if you're out there and you get a new job and you think picking up a hooker and playing patty cakes and going and drinking beer and all that other crap, and you think, oh, I can get a job anywhere. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, once this guy gives your reference that, I had to fire him because it's now going on your DAC. All right, this guy reports this stuff. I know him personally. So now this guy literally has terminated an orientation, and when they call him or they send the reference over to him, he's going to put down, or he's going to either do that or he's going to put down personal contact requested. When you put personal contact requested on a guy's DAC or his higher right, that's bad stuff. I'm going to tell you that right now. That means they want to get whoever's trying to hire you on the phone, and they want to say, hey, listen, I just want to tell you, here's what he did. Here's what he did here. You make up your own mind.
When you see personal contact requested or even terminated during orientation, those two things, it is always bad because that means it doesn't fall in any of the category that's preset into DAC.
Yes. So, guys, trust me, clean up your act. Yes, you are the hot chick. But guess what? Some hot chicks back in school were cool. Okay? There were some cool ones. But I'm going to tell you something. Most of them were not. And was because everybody chased them. And I know you guys have all the trucking companies chasing you. Actually, right now they don't. But in normal times, and the normal times, Lord willing, will come back. Okay? Because they always do. When they do, be humble.
Usually the hot chick was really made up too. Like,
well, don't get all jealous over the hot chick.
You're
jealous.
I'm just saying that there's usually something that has to go.
Can I tell you guys a quick story about Ruth Ann?
Gosh.
Her brother was visiting us one year, right? And I said to him, his name is Scott. I said, Scott, Ruth Ann does not get along with pretty women. He goes, shut up. I said, you want to test it? He goes, yeah. I go ahead and start complimenting Pamela Sue Anderson. And when Ruth Ann's walking by, we'll have a conversation. And you go ahead and start saying about how hot Pamela Sue Anderson is. And I guarantee you she'll make a comment negative. And so he starts talking about Pamela Sue and Ruth Ann. Purposely, we did this. She comes walking by. She goes, she's made up. She's all plastic surgery, right? And it was so funny. And I said to Scott, I go, now, wait a little bit and go ahead and ask her what she thinks of Roseanne Barr. And when we asked her about Roseanne, she goes, she's all right. Yeah, she's all right. Not a big deal. She's cool. So, yeah, Ruth Ann's not a big fan of really, really pretty women.
No, that's not true.
It's true.
It's not true. Our daughter Hunter is named after Hunter Tylo, and she's beautiful.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
There you go.
Anyways, I just thought I'd tell that story.
Moving on.
She's a cat fighter. Ruth Ann doesn't play well in the sandbox.
I don't.
She's not a good sandboxer. Okay.
Not with some things.
All right. Let's take a break. Hey, drivers. Are you sick of watching the other drivers bypass the weigh station while you are held up going through yourself? Well, download Drivewyze today at www.drivewyze.com. That's DRIVEWYZE.com, and start bypassing the scales yourself. If you're a small carrier, an owner-operator, or even a big fleet looking for something better, check out Drivewyze today. And remember, there's no equipment, no transponders needed when you're using Drivewyze. Check them out for a free download at www.drivewyze.com. Truck Parking Club is a network of instantly reservable daily and monthly truck parking locations throughout the U.S. Truck Parking Club helps connect truckers to truck parking locations throughout the U.S. via truckparkingclub.com. Our networks is made up of property owners that have locations adequate for truck parking to list on the platform. This includes trucking companies, storage companies, CDL schools, trailer leasing companies, real estate investors, truck parking operators, and more. Go to truckparkingclub.com today. All right, we be back, Ruth Ann. You there?
No, I'm here.
It was my hot chick story. Hey, Ruth Ann, I showed you that video earlier about that trucker that was got caught on video. And the reason I want to bring it up, remember it was on I-49 and there was two truckers trying to run each other off the road. Everybody's seen the video. It's a viral video. And they arrested these guys. And of course, I'm sure their companies have fired them by now.
Oh, I'm sure they did.
But guys, this brings me back to remember when social media started and people were videoing everything? And I kept telling everybody, listen, if I'm a safety director, every day I'm putting out a message. Watch your act, my drivers, because if you don't, the public is, and they're sending videos in, and they're going to catch you, right? So, hence this, it's, I guess it happened in Louisiana. It says DeSoto Parish, Louisiana. It said that the sheriff arrested one following a viral video of two 18-wheel drivers during a road rage incident last Tuesday. It says, according to a Facebook post by the DPSO at approximately 8 a.m. on Wednesday, it was brought to the attention of the officers a video had gone viral on Facebook, which must have been live, because it says, showing two 18-wheeler drivers involved in appeared to be a road rage incident. And believe me, when you're watching it,
you could tell it's road rage.
Well, traffic is stopped while these guys are trying to smash into each other, they're going off the road.
That's
one's in a dump box, one's in a dry van, right? So it says they immediately made contact with dispatch and determined that there were no calls received regarding the incident prior to 9:30 a.m. So they didn't even get calls. They all found out about it through the live post. You see this is my whole point, that social media and videoing will get you. They didn't even have to call the cops. That's how crazy this situation was. Somebody said, hey, check out what's going on. Cops were like, how comes nobody even called? Everybody was too busy videoing the damn thing to get on their damn phone. You believe that? How many people were in that traffic? You could tell there was a lot.
There was, it looked like at least a dozen, 2 dozen.
So I would imagine that they were all just videoing away. Hey, check this out.
They had to all have been videoing.
Yeah, every one of them's videoing this. And it's actually kind of sad because you got all these people that are videoing. Even other truckers, instead of trying to help out a driver, a lot of times they'll just video a guy screwing up. Yeah, I seen a post. Yeah, I seen a post today where a guy really, honestly, I hope he didn't drive with the running chains just through the coils and not even chaining them down, just running it through the hole. It was through the middle. It's very dangerous. But anyways, and one driver even said, why isn't anybody at least trying to help this guy instead of just videoing it?
Right.
So here we are, a road rage incident, drivers. You get pissed off at a car, whatever. Guy brake checking you, and you go around, you start cutting people off. I promise you, dash cam, social media, people are out to make $1 on you, and they will ruin your career just to make $1 on you. So really, what's the point, Ruth Ann? Stop acting up in front of the public.
I agree 100% because you got to look at it this way. Those people stopped not just so they could video, but because they were fearful because of the way those two trucks were driving. You literally made a bad name for a ton of truckers that had nothing to do with that incident. The reason I say that is because it only takes one trucker to make everybody think badly about trucking. So they just really made the trucking industry horrible. All truckers now are, look what they could do when they have road rage. Look at this, look at that. Those two drivers just did that to the industry because not only did they do it to the cars that were behind them, but there was a dry van truck coming up that wanted to go and get through that incident per se too.
Exactly. And so, it goes back to this, guys. Stop crapping on your CDL. And guys, I'm going to tell you something. Ruth Ann, I will guarantee you today that those two drivers were fired.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I would also guarantee you that nobody wants to hire them.
No, because that's PSP now.
Here's why they don't want to hire them. It's called negligent hiring. If now somebody hires one of those road rage truckers, that's a good name for a page, road rage truckers. So if somebody goes and hires them, and then he gets in another road rage and hurts or kills somebody, now the trucking company's in a lot of trouble because they did negligent hiring. They hired a guy knowing that there was a video of showing him trying to run other people off the road. So therefore, guys, and what I'm getting at is here we are a week later almost, and I would almost guarantee you that those two truckers are begging for a job. And I guarantee you that both of them are now regretting and saying, wow, why didn't I just let him get down the road? Why did I keep going back? And the other one's probably thinking in his mind, why did I keep returning, BS?
Whatever started it. It could have been anything that started it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
But you don't want to keep it going, because what happens is, one, it turns you bitter. Two, look what happens. You lost your job, more than likely.
Maybe career.
PSP. Well, yeah, the PSP is going to show all that incident. You don't want any of that. And especially if they were younger, that just started out, that's years that they're not going to be able to be hired by anybody.
Absolutely.
So you don't want to do that. You don't want to, you're a professional driver, act like one. That's how I say it.
And I agree. 10 billion%.
Moving on.
And I like that. Let's move on, Ruthann. You had something about, I was curious. You had mentioned something about hydrogen, hydrogen cells for trucking. I would like to hear about that for a second, because I did a little, I don't want to say research, but I did look something up.
Okay. All right. So it's in its very early stages, but we all have, like, the trucking industry has been looking for ways to, quote, improve its fuel systems, or being battery versus electric. So they already have the Tesla electric vehicles, which right now are parked.
But they're not hydrogen.
No. The hydrogen is, what they're looking at doing is making the long haul trucks, meaning the heavy ones, not the heavy, but the ones that we use for OTR. They're looking at making those into a hydrogen. So it's for zero emissions. It says that it's in its embryonic stages, so it's still in its figuring it out stages. But what they're going to be using is fuel cells, hydrogen fuel cells in the tractors to create the zero emission solution for these heavy duty trucks. And I'm not talking about like heavy duty as far as like your dualies or anything like that. 18-wheeler, regular semi tractors being the
commercial vehicles.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm sitting there going, when you were telling me about that, we were sitting there in the house, and I'm thinking to myself, wasn't the Hindenburg filled with hydrogen? And so I looked at him like, with the Hindenburg being the dirigible or the gigantic blimp that exploded over New Jersey. And people were like fried. It was, you can look up old footage of the Hindenburg horribly. And apparently, listen to this, it says, the airship, they called it an airship. The airship was designed to be filled with helium gas, but because the U.S. export restriction on helium. So they had this, I guess the Hindenburg came in from another country, Germany or whatever.
Oh, yeah, somewhere over there.
So the U.S. wasn't exporting the helium needed. So it says, so it was filled with hydrogen. So they went ahead and took hydrogen and put that in the blimp. It wasn't even supposed to have hydrogen. It was supposed to be helium. So they pumped it with hydrogen, which is extremely flammable. It says, and the official cause was a fire due to the discharge of atmospheric electricity, near a gas leak on the ship's surface. So this atmospheric electricity, kind of like static. I think it's almost like static electricity. You know how you can rub a balloon on your head and it'll stick to the wall, or well, apparently, and you know how you can rub your feet on the carpet and it'll shock you?
I'm always getting shocked. Or even in your air, honestly, when you go near a storm, it will create that electric.
Right. So some kind of atmospheric electricity happened at the same time hydrogen was leaking out of the blimp, and there was an explosion. And if you look it up, it's actually a scary, sad thing. In fact, they never left a blimp be filled with helium again after that. Or not helium, but hydrogen. Yes. So my question is, how safe will the semi-trucks be? I mean,
I don't know.
They said they're going to use hydrogen fuel cells. Is that what it is?
Yes, hydrogen fuel cells.
I mean, to me, a fuel cell has got to be at least the size of some giant batteries, right? I mean, come on. I mean, if you're going to be able to use these things to create energy, what happens on impact and an accident?
I have no idea.
I'm just curious. I'm asking the question. That's all.
I have no idea, but I'll tell you where they're looking at replacing some of this stuff, or as far as what they're looking at doing it is, like, of course, light duty vehicles. They're not going to do anything with that. Medium, short haul, heavy trucks and buses. They're looking at doing those. Long haul heavy trucks, off-road trucks. I'm thinking like,
Ukes and stuff.
Yeah, well, I was thinking more like four-wheelers and off-haul, because it's not going by weight.
Does it say how long, like I'm sure, is the cost in there? And also, does it say how many miles a tractor trailer might be able to go, on these fuel cells? And how do you, my question would be, okay, you got a hydrogen fuel cell. So that means it has to be regenerated. So somebody has to put hydrogen in these things. They don't run forever. So you get a tractor trailer. And how do you, we know how an electric truck works. You recharge them. We know how a diesel truck works. You refuel them. How does a hydrogen truck, they must pump gas somehow. They must, have so many pressure, how many pounds of gas, hydrogen gas put in these rigs. I'm telling you, it doesn't sound cool to me.
I don't know, but believe it or not, so they represent their graph here by 1, 2, or 3 of the little, like with the hydrogen, it looks like a little atom that they're using. So the big one is the long haul trucks, and then believe it or not, the next one is rail and then maritime. So they're not just going to try and do it just for tractor trailers. They're also looking at doing it for rail, maritime, aviation, and then pipeline is still up in the air. So those are something, and it doesn't say anything except for, it says we don't have a Mr. Fusion out there to go 600 to 700 miles, said the person that's doing this at the NACFE's division. But and as much as we appreciate battery electric vehicles, they really aren't set up to go those really long distances with heavy loads. So what they're trying to do is find something that could do it, but it's so new. Well, it's so new that they're still trying to get all of that. When you do any type of science, you have your hypothesis and you have your little graph that you have to go by. That's where they're still in, is the embryonic stage.
Okay. I guess remains to be seen.
We'll see what comes out about it. We'll keep posting more about it as we see more about it.
Hydrogen tractor trailers. All righty. Hey, it's like in the last, if you think about this for a second, in the last so many years, you've got tractor trailers that run on natural gas. Mm-hmm. They have those. Mm-hmm. They have electric tractor trailers. They have diesel tractor trailers. Mm-hmm. They're wanting to make autonomous tractor trailers, which has had a big setback. Mm-hmm. So it's just one thing after another. Everybody's trying to jump in the trucking industry to, I guess, make $1. So anyways, moving on. Rita, we're kind of getting late here. So what else do you got? Got anything?
I do. I have a couple of things. I would ask drivers to go to Truckers Against Trafficking's website. That's truckersagainsttrafficking.org. They have their newsletter that they put out every month. I would ask to please sign up for the newsletter. But they also do a calendar of events that they're going to be going to different cities and different states throughout the month to do training or to do certain things. And I would really suggest going to some of those if you're in the area. It's not a waste of your time when you're going to see different things that could be done. There was, I was telling you about a disgusting story, which I'm not going to go in detail, but it was basically a man sentenced to life for trafficking a 6-year-old.
Yeah, it's pretty bad when you traffic little kids.
What's
and you deserve to go to prison for life.
What's extremely bad is the fact that in February of 2018, this is what started the, now.
Was he a trucker?
doesn't say that he was a trucker. It just...
Yeah, just because it says truckers against trafficking, it doesn't necessarily mean it's that we're catching truckers. Because, and I'll tell you, to be honest with you, what it really is more importantly is truckers being vigil on the road and helping catch these traffickers.
And that's basically what it is.
Right.
It's a way to catch them. It's just meaning that truckers and the likes of are against the trafficking.
Let me say this real quick, Ruth Ann. You know, one of the things that you mentioned that they're going around and they're doing programs that truckers can sign up. It's free. It don't cost you anything to attend one of these classes or seminars. What it is, they bring in a lot of state police and people that are expert on these trafficking task force. And what they try to show you guys some of the things to watch for. See, everybody thinks, okay, I'll just keep watching for, because you know, when you're in a tractor trailer, you can see down in cars. So you're thinking, I'll just watch for somebody asking for help. But that's not always the case. There's other signs to watch for that you might not even know exist, because a lot of those people that are being taken are also being threatened and they're scared. And so there's little things they'll do to try to get your attention. And you're encouraged to pick up the phone when you think something is not right in a car. Whether you're wrong or right, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid, drivers, to pick up the phone and say, hey, something suspicious is going on with this kid, you know, in a car. He doesn't look right. Guess what? I'd rather you be wrong than and make the call than find out later that the car you seen them in is now being hunted because of somebody's trafficking.
Oh, yeah.
And truckers have eyes on the road, Ruth Ann. They're everywhere. We're everywhere. And my gosh, what a task force the truckers can be if they're all well informed on the trafficking.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you see more in the highways than anybody. But this driver, or this, not driver, I apologize, this man that was just arrested, they caught him because he took this 6-year-old to the Arkansas hospital, Children's Hospital, and to be treated because of her being sick.
What, did she end up with a sexual disease or something?
Several sexually transmitted diseases is what was creating her to be ill.
I'm so glad that was he going for life? Prison for life?
Prison for life. No, I'm not going to go in through all the articles. I'd rather have the drivers go in and read some of them because, you know, this is stuff that's very hard to go through as far as, you know, when you're reading some of the things that these children have gone through.
And he was not a trucker, this guy. He was just a guy that was, you know, caught because he took the kid into Arkansas hospital. Right. And wow, what a sick... Again, you know what? I can start saying things, and I know there's people out there listening right now, probably it's disturbing to hear this stuff. And we all know what we'd like to see done to the guy. Honestly, if I'm being honest with you, anybody that does that, trafficking little kids out, and I read a story once where this woman had wrote where her dad would take her. Her dad would take her to a bathroom at a park, and then another man would just take her by the hand and walk her somewhere and do things with her. He would set up these acts, her own dad. And I'm going to just tell you, if we just started eliminating these guys, I would donate the bullet. 1 bullet to the head is all you need. Okay, I would donate the bullet, and I would actually pull the trigger for somebody too. I'm telling you, it's justified. If these guys get convicted, once they're convicted, I don't believe in killing anybody and I don't believe in killing people. I believe in the death penalty. I 100% do. Yeah. And I would tell you that if it's been justified, you've been found guilty, you need to leave the planet. I
can't stand having
you serve no
life in prison.
You serve no purpose to humans at all if you're doing that to little kids. You serve zero purpose. Okay, what a human being should be required to serve a purpose on this planet, because you're breathing up our air, you're eating our food, and we have to freaking support you and work to support you. Meanwhile, you're never going to get out of prison again. You're not going to be rehabilitated. I've talked to perverts. I've been in the church for a long time, and I've talked to those guys, and every one of them tells us what? I can't stop. I'm sorry. It's just something in me. I've talked to these guys. They are
some of them ask to be
castrated even.
Some of them ask just, I don't want to be this way, but I'm not going to be able to control it. So just don't let me out again.
So just to be honest with you,
our time.
Let them leave the planet. Let them leave the planet. They need to be.
Other countries do it.
Yeah.
Why do we have to be so soft on certain things?
Right.
Other countries do it. They don't have the overflowing of
It just gets me so fired up when I hear a little kid being hurt like that. It's like you just want to, oh my gosh. You know what? Let's move on.
Moving on.
Bottom line is, don't bring that subject up again. No, I'm kidding. No. All right.
The next thing I wanted to mention is while we were at Matt's, I stopped by and seen the TNC radio, and I spoke with Mr. Kelly there about Trucker's Final Mile. And one thing I didn't know up until then is that they actually, just as of December, brought in their 500th driver home.
You mean that was killed?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Trucker's Final Mile being.
It's not just killed. It's also if they've died on the road from like cancer
That's
or
what I mean.
anything.
Death. Yeah, usually
form
it's
of
death, and it's their final mile.
Mm-hmm.
So usually when a lot of times, which is sad, a trucker may have a heart attack 1,000 miles away from his home for stay, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot. It costs money to get the body home, and now you have a family that really is hurting for money. They're poor, and they really have no means of getting this body home. And Trucker's Final Mile is that steps in. And you said they just hit number 500.
500th in December. They hit 500th.
And think about this. I mean, Trucker's Final Mile isn't handling every trucker death because many families can afford. So what I'm getting at, though, Trucker's Final Mile has been around probably about as long as Talk CDL has been around. We've been around 7 years. That's really sad that many truckers die on the road. You know what I mean? I'm just saying that's just 500 that they've helped. We know that there's a lot more where, they probably didn't qualify for Trucker's Final Mile to help them get their loved one home. And so it's just sad to me when a trucker dies far away from home. It's got to be lonely, Like, you remember that time, that company out of Kansas that we know really well, and they were telling us they were looking for this trucker they hired, and they couldn't find him. Mm-hmm. And literally 3 days later, we were talking. I said, "Did you ever find that trucker that was missing?" They said, "Yes, we found him in a rest area in Kentucky. He had a heart attack and passed away in the truck. They had a whole load of butter that went bad, but because it was a reefer." But the point was, this poor guy, he probably felt pain. He probably crawled in his bunk thinking, okay, I must have, because some people think that a heart attack might just be indigestion.
Right.
Or, you know what I mean?
And at that time, eating, your skillets were still open, your country kitchens, all those things. They didn't have the fast food like they have now. This was a few years ago.
Well, either way, they people had heart attacks. And the bottom line was, he might have crawled in that bunk, or he might have been sleeping and it just happened in his sleep. I don't know. But the bottom line is the poor guy's family and him, they separated during that time. It's really sad, and that's the life of a trucker. We're gone. We may be gone 3,000 miles from if you live in Miami and you're in Seattle and it happens there, you're pretty far away. You're far away and your family's never going to see you, at least walking on the planet again. Mm-hmm. And so Trucker's Final Mile is doing a great job.
It is.
In helping people, helping truckers' families, not the trucker, because the trucker's deceased, but Trucker's Final Mile they're like angels to a trucker's family that can't afford to get that loved one, that truck driver back home.
Well, here's some things. I mean, you got to think of as a driver, and this is what I'm going to point out to you, is the owner, or not the owner, but the founder is going through his own issues. But he was telling us that there's companies that refer them for, like, some of them are large. One was a $6 billion company would always refer their drivers to them, like refer, like the family over to Trucker's Final Mile to help bring them home, but yet they're not donating. So they need money to bring these drivers home.
Donate, guys.
So
this is a
if
cause.
you can give something to them, it could be you one day, Lord willing not, but it could be your friend. It could be someone that you've drove with. It could be anybody. And that is what's important, is to make sure that the driver gets back to where they need to be laid to rest. And, no matter how they're going to be done, it's just something that's really good to bring about. He said that unionized companies usually aren't too bad, but it's these companies that are small and stuff that they really need a lot of help with.
Awesome. All right, guys, if you can donate, honestly, $1, $5, $10. And look, they didn't ask us to tell you guys this. We're just telling you that we know that if we're going to donate in the trucking industry, it's going to be for...
Keep it within, keep it in there.
Keep it in the industry. So, and it's such a great cause for people that are needing money. Ruth Ann, that is our podcast for the week. Do you have the word of the day?
I do. Ready?
I'm ready.
Piffling.
Piffling. What does piffling mean?
Piffling is trivial or unimportant. Like when I went on to say about the restaurants that were still, really was piffling.
Piffling. I actually like that name. I'm going to try to remember. Piffling. It means just something that's really not that important.
Trivial, unimportant.
It's a little piffling. Where's it from? England?
It is English, 19th century. And in a sentence is, Dora felt disappointed to have worked so hard for such a piffling amount of pay.
Awesome. Ruth Ann, we're out of here.
Peace.
Peace. Praise the Lord.